good afternoon. The topic, overarching topic of this TEDx talk is reimagining reality. But how does reality actually change on ground? How does society change? How does practical change occur in a society? That's an interplay of law and politics by which society has always changed and will always change. So I will discuss this intersection of law and politics because reimagining is not enough till societal change actually happens. And long ago, Benjamin Franklin said that death and taxes are two certainties of life. One greater certainty than that is that every aspect of your life, from your birth to your death, your private life, your personal life, your public life, your career, your education, etc., anything and everything you can imagine will be regulated by laws. What are these laws? Why is it important to understand these laws? What are the changes brought out by these laws? I recall what Henry Adams said. He said chaos is the law of nature. Law of jungle is chaos. It is the dream of man to have law and justice. And that dream, that change is what I will discuss with all of you. Let us first understand what does the word law mean, because we use it very, very commonly. Law in habeas corpus case, Supreme Court, when emergency was there and fundamental rights were suspended, a beautiful definition came there by the dissenting opinion of Justice Khanna, which held any organized system formally can be called a law. Even Nazi Germany was a law because there was a hierarchy. Somebody gave an order, somebody carried out that order. So formally law existed in Germany, which led to mass murders. But the rule of law is absent where you are having these sorts of perversions of law. So law is one thing, rule of law which will encompass justice, good conscience, equity, equality, access to justice, everybody having basic human rights, that is the rule of law. And the changes brought out by rule of law is what I will discuss, and I will focus on democracies for this. Because in a dictatorship or in a fascist regime or in any totalitarian regime, change happens by whims and fancies of the ruling class. Luckily, in Bharat, we are all living in a democracy, and I will focus on legal changes in a democracy which have fundamentally changed our society. To understand this, I will give you one test case. The test case is Kashmir. I will not go into the national security aspects of that. I will not go into the international law aspects of it. I will just focus on the societal aspect of it. Firstly, before coming to the law which changed and society changed, let us understand the politics. Very, very briefly, there were two very clear political views in Jammu and Kashmir. One view said that Jammu and Kashmir is a conditional accession to India. It is contingent on the treaty signed. It is on the instrument of accession, and it is a bridge which connects Bharat with Kashmir. If this bridge is destroyed, Kashmir may become independent. Now that was one political argument. The other political argument was that Kashmir is an integral part of India, that it is like any other state, Gujarat or any other state, that Article 370 is temporary, politics changed, a particular party comes to power, it abrogates 370. That's a political change because there were two very, very different political ideas. Democracy, people voted, one idea won. That debate is over because the Honorable Supreme Court upheld the constitutional validity of it. So now the legal change. What has changed in society? How has reality gotten reimagined there? For this test case of Kashmir in specific, I think is very important because law is made to uplift and protect the vulnerable sections, empower the weak. The weak need the law the most, or those who require support need the law the most. So I will take two segments of our society which have fundamentally reimagined their condition in Kashmir. First, let's deal with 50% of our population, and I'm very happy to see so many women here. How has the situation of women changed in Kashmir? Under Article 370, if a Kashmiri woman decided to marry outside Kashmir, it was at the cost of her property rights. It was at the cost of an inheritance. All of you come from different parts of the country. You can decide to marry whomsoever you want to marry. Your husband or your children will have no adverse consequences on their inheritance, on their ability to give their property to their kids. Nothing. It's not a cost-balance ratio, right? It's not that if I marry this person, I will lose this in my property. That was happening in Jammu Kashmir. Because the minute you married outside, your children, your husband did not get a thing called permanent residency. If you did not have permanent residency, you could not get jobs, you couldn't acquire property, you couldn't have all the benefits which flow to you in any other state. Now that amount of segregation of women, I think, is an absence of rule of law, where a woman has to choose between her right to marriage or her right to property. Article 370 goes, the change comes in. Now, after certain orders and notifications by the government, it's an absolutely similar situation. This is how law has fundamentally changed the condition of women in Kashmir. Or let's take one more segment, the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. What was the condition in Kashmir? How many of you have heard of a lady called Radhika Gill? Have any of you have heard of her? A 19-year-old girl. You know what the condition was? In 1950s, certain people belonging to the scheduled castes were brought to Kashmir. They were doing the job of sweeper. Now you would imagine in a normal course that their kids would educate themselves and get job opportunities or get opportunities to study, and after one generation, like in the rest of this country, there will be mobility, ability to go to colleges, ability to get government jobs, ability to have a better life, ability not to be restricted to that profession. Well, that wasn't happening. Why? Because you could not get residency card. So not one generation, not 1950s. This Miss Gill, as I was telling you about, is the fourth generation. Your grandfather, your great-grandfather, your father, and you could not get admission in colleges. The benefit of reservations, the ability to apply for a government job, you could top the physical examination, you could do brilliantly in the entrance exam, but you could not get a job. While we are sitting here and talking about reimagining reality, understand practically what is happening to a reality where 3 or 4 generations down, I'm not saying 3 or 4 years down, 3 or 4 generations down, you do not get the basic welfareism, the basic benefits of being born in that state. Even outside our country, if you go, in so many countries, by birth you get citizenship. Here, as I told you, 4 generations, it wasn't happening. So these changes have come by a simple device of a legal change. I gave this test case because I thought it was a very good example of politics and laws intersection. But whatever you people be doing in life, you could choose any career, you could be in any stream of life that you choose, but the effect of law, you must understand at every stage. Holistically, moving beyond Kashmir, the biggest change, I think, one of the biggest change, because I'm talking about women, came through law when voting rights came. What is voting right? Voting right is a legal change. Voting right was a movement in US, in UK, which took 50, 60, 70 years. After that movement fructified, did you have voting rights? Now, what has been the effect of one simple change? One simple change. See the long list of laws in education field, in job field, in the field of maternity benefits, in the field of welfareism. You will not be able to count how many laws have changed by one simple legal change. So many students are studying here. Imagine public speaking was frowned upon just 100 years ago, and this I'm talking about Western countries. Understand that moment, understand how entire reality is reimagined by just one small change in the law. The clock has become stuck, so please tell me 5 minutes before. So by just one simple change in law. Now let us come to a wider aspect of it. In India, what are the changes which happen by simple laws? Your right to property. There was an amendment recently, 2005, in Hindu Succession Act. After that, a girl child or a male child have absolutely the same position when it comes to inheritance of your ancestral property. No difference. Simple legal change. I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but these sort of changes dramatically transform the entire society. Moving from the past to the future, because I want to focus on the future. In real time, societal changes are happening with changes in law. I'm a lawyer. When I joined the profession and I was giving the example, so many people are asking me what happens in courts. I'll give you one example. When I joined the profession, it was frowned upon to even, I remember I was an intern, I hadn't become a lawyer then. I saw a client, he was recording what the judge was saying and what an opposite side's counsel was arguing. He might have had no malified intention. He was probably recording it to show his counsel what was argued in the court. That was frowned upon by the court, because that time to record what's happening in court was looked down upon. It was almost a contempt. But now we have the benefit of live streaming. And I am not prehistoric. This is the change in a few 10 years, 12 years. That amount of change has happened in real time, where any citizen, I'm talking about access to justice, and we need to thank the Supreme Court for that, any citizen can see what's happening in court without being there. That is transparency. That is justice. That is equality. Your lawyer cannot tell you this happened in court, that happened in court. You can see it in real time. That is one change. Or the change in social media. How the interplay of social media and law has changed society. The sort of career opportunities because of social media. That's the good part. Or the sort of dangerous reels people are shooting, or the sort of photos being put on social media. It was unimaginable 20 years ago. Absolutely unimaginable that people could share their private moments like this in a society like Bharat. That has happened, and it's happening everywhere across India without realizing that change has come. And then law is catching up with that change. Law is saying we need to regulate this. Law is saying that we need to channelize this. If you do a dangerous stunt for getting a few likes, putting your life at risk, then we need to fine you, we need to jail you. So it is a constant interplay of what the law does and how the society changes. I will tell you, in the end, I don't want to make it very long, I will just say you are all in IIT, you are focusing on your engineering subjects, computer science, whatever you are focusing on. But while you are doing all that, remember, be it social media or be it artificial intelligence, which is the new era you are going into. It is the best of times, the worst of times. In that, the maximum change in society will come from artificial intelligence in aspects we can't even think of right now. And that societal change, mixed with the political change, mixed with the legal change, is how society will be reimagined as we go ahead. Aristotle long ago said, man is the man is the noblest of animals, but separated from law and justice, he is the worst of all animals. So whatever be your field, please know the law, please understand the law, hopefully don't fall foul of the law, and please use the law to not only reimagine reality, but bring practical change in reality. Thank you.